So we're going to start this video off with what you should not do if you're going to wash your engine. It's a super common question out there on the internet is, can you screw anything up on your car by washing the engine? 9 times out of 10, that answer is going to be no, and I'm going to show you. Especially if the car is somewhat new. So if the car is less than like 30 years old, all these connectors underneath the hood, they all have weather seals on them. They're all rubber sealed. So the likelihood of water getting down inside that, unless you're using, you know, super high pressure water, the likelihood of water getting inside that connection or any of the other connections is realistically, it's pretty slim. So the first thing you want to do is get a garden hose with like a selectable stream on it. And typically what I'll do is I'll set it to like the, you know, kind of like the shower head setting, real light spray, and that's what I'll use to wash the engine. With that said, you know, if you want to use, you know, the jet setting, yeah, you can do that. And there's a bunch of people out there that go, you can't spray the alternator, you can't spray the fuse box. As long as the fuse box has a lid, it'll be fine. The alternator is pretty resilient. Honestly, if you sit here and spray the alternator, I'm going to start the car up. Still charging, no problem. Another super common scenario is somebody's car develops some sort of problem after they wash the engine. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be some sort of ignition issue because the water obviously is conductive, and if your spark plugs or your coils are in bad shape, the arc is going to try and take the path of least resistance through the water and not go down through the plug. So if I sit here and spray down all these coils with a jet spray, the internet says I'm going to have all sorts of problems with this. Get back in the car and start it up again. Again, the car runs fine. What you need to remember about washing your engine is if your vehicle or your engine develops some sort of problem after you washed it, the problem was already there. The water just told you about it. I'm gonna fill this valve cover with water and start the car up. It'll run fine. If everything's sealed and everything works correctly, you won't have any issues. If you wash your engine and you have problems afterward, the fact that you washed the engine just showed you that there was a problem. On a good functioning engine, you won't have any issue washing it. Literally hosing down the coils and filling up the valve cover. This is absolutely terrible. I do not do this, okay? I'm just doing this to prove a point. Watch. So as you can see, for the most part, it's pretty hard to screw this up. Realistically, the only thing that I would even consider worrying about would be probably the fuse box, because the fuse box has no type of like rubber seal that seals the lid. But most of the time, you know, as you see, it's perfectly dry inside. There's nothing in there anyway. So you really don't have to worry about it. The only other thing that I may cover up, like if you have a cold air intake with an exposed filter on it, put a plastic bag or something over the filter so you're not, hosing down the exposed air filter. But for something like this that's inside an air box, it's no problem. Older carbureted stuff, yeah, put something over the opening of the carburetor, and you may want to put something over top of the distributor cap. But like I was saying, any modern car that's been made in the past 30 years really doesn't have any of that stuff on it, and you really don't need to worry about it because all of the connections under the hood are all weather tight. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how I wash an engine. I'm actually going to do it on my truck. So let me switch vehicles and we'll cut to the truck. All right, so first things first, I always use one of these like selectable spray wands for a garden hose, just so you can kind of tailor the kind of spray that's going out in the engine. I usually set it to like the shower setting, so it's a real fine spray, not a lot of pressure, and you're just essentially using that to rinse the cleaner that you're going to use. If you're at a car wash and you want to wash your engine, my recommendation would be just use the high pressure water spray that is normally at the coin operated car wash. Just hold the wand further back than what you normally would. Just hold it a couple feet away from the surface of the engine and it'll be fine. If you really try to get in here, there's a potential that, yeah, you could, blow the insulation right off of a wiring harness or something like that if you have a ton of pressure. But as long as you hold it far enough away, you won't have any problem, just like a garden hose. With that said, I do this with the engine cool because if I spray a hot engine with a bunch of water, first of all, it's going to evaporate, pretty much instantaneously, and you're not going to get any real cleaning action out of it. So make sure the engine's cool when you're doing this. But the first thing I actually wash is the bottom of the hood, because the bottom of the hood is going to fall on the engine. So if you clean the engine and then do the hood, you're going to put, dirt basically right back over top of what you just cleaned. So you're going to do the bottom of the hood first. And I just hose all this down, get it nice and wet. Now at this point, I'm gonna get some sort of engine degreaser. I like the products from Gunk. I actually tested engine degreasers about a year ago at this point. The Gunk engine degreaser works excellent. The heavy duty gel from Gunk works excellent. I've tried some of the foaming cleaners, and the problem is with the foaming cleaners, yes, they cling a lot better than something like this that's going to kind of run off the surface. But the problem is with the foaming cleaner, it really doesn't clean much of anything. So yeah, it creates a bunch of foam, but in my experience, really doesn't do a whole heck of a lot. This stuff cuts through grease and grime a lot better than the foaming version. So I'm going to hose all this down. And because I'm working from the top, naturally, a lot of this is going to end up on the engine. And I've tested this stuff on plastic, rubber, and aluminum. It has zero impact on plastic, rubber, aluminum, even paint. Doesn't do anything to paint. It's a really good product, so I highly recommend it. The only downside is it reeks of kerosene and diesel fuel, which is probably more than likely what it's made from, but it does an excellent job of cleaning, so take that for what it is. So what I'm doing now is I got a soft bristle brush. I just use an old paintbrush, and the nice thing is with the long bristles on it, you can get down into all the cracks and crevices and places like that, get all that dirt sort of agitated and worked out of the surface. But you're going to go over pretty much everywhere that you sprayed the engine cleaner is where you're going to hit it with the the paintbrush or the scrub brush or whatever you're going to use. But a really soft brush like a paintbrush works excellent because, like I said, it gets into all these contours and cracks and crevices a lot better than a stiff bristle brush. So as you're going through here and sort of agitating all this dirt, oil, grease, grime, whatever, as you're agitating it with the brush, just make sure that no areas of the engine are drying out. If you notice anything start to dry out, use more cleaner, don't use more water until you make sure you have everything agitated thoroughly. Now, once you go through to actually rinse off your cleaner, Make sure, again, that you start from the hood and don't wash the engine first, wash the hood first, because like I said, if you wash the engine, get the engine nice and clean, and then wash the hood, it's going to take all that dirt from the hood and dump it right on that clean engine. So work from the top down. A lot of people kind of forget that, and it's kind of apparent when you open the hood and the bottom of the hood's filthy, but the engine's spotless. So believe me, I've done it. Now this Gunk Original that I'm using is mostly just kerosene and diesel fuel. So if you look around underneath this engine bay, the water sort of beads up on everything because everything's sort of covered in obviously kerosene and diesel fuel. So what I'm gonna do to remove the kerosene and diesel fuel is I'm gonna go over top of everything with Simple Green. That'll cut through the kerosene, diesel fuel, get all that stuff off of there. I'm sure some of you at this point are going, well, why didn't you just use Simple Green to begin with? Because the Gunk cuts a lot better than Simple Green does. The Simple Green will remove any residue of the kerosene and diesel fuel, but it doesn't cut as well as the Gunk does. So keep that in mind. So the procedure with the Simple Green is going to be the exact same procedure that I showed with the Gunk Original. You know, I'm going through with the paintbrush again, just agitating everything one more time. You know, obviously if I missed any spots, this is going to take care of it as well, in addition to removing any kerosene and diesel fuel residue. The nice thing is about using this Simple Green, guys, you'll see at the end, it leaves a very nice matte finish on all of the plastic. It looks very natural. It pretty much looks the way it came from the factory, and it doesn't have that, you know, overly fake, overly glossy sort of shine to all the plastics and rubber parts under the hood. Now to dry it, I use compressed air. If you guys have compressed air, I highly recommend it, just because you're gonna get compressed air in a lot more places than what you're ever gonna get a towel or a rag to get everything dry. So I go through here and just it looks great when you're done. So that's what I'm gonna go through here and do. So once I'm done with the blow nozzle, next thing I'll do is I'll go through with a just a cloth and just wipe everything down, get everything, you know, as dry as possible. But I've always done it this way. I've never had any problem ever. I think if you're just conscientious of the fuse box and the alternator, generally on a modern vehicle, you're not going to have any issues. If you're dealing with something older, yeah, cover the, you know, the coil, the distributor with a plastic bag, you know, don't spray down the carburetor, things like that. But for the most part, anything modern, it's pretty hard to screw it up. All right, so this is what the truck looked like before I cleaned it. Now, this truck has just under 40,000 miles on it at this point. I've never washed the engine on it since I bought it brand new. So the engine bay has never been cleaned in this truck, and you know, this is what it looks like. So I understand what you're working on may look better, may look worse as far as how dirty it is, but this is what I'm dealing with, and this is what I started with. So let's take a look at what it looks like after. So guys, taking a look here at my truck, if you look, you know, the plastic has a very natural look to it. It looks like it did when it came out of the factory. And really that's kind of what I shoot for. I'm not a huge fan of engines looking like they're covered in tire shine and silicone and, you know, all that stuff that makes them look just overly fake shiny. So I really like how this turns out using the Simple Green and then rinsing it with water. It just gives it a very, you know, sort of natural look to it. You could 100% go through and, you know, hit all this plastic trim and hit it with, you know, some sort of like 303 or some sort of protectant to try and, you know, keep it the way it is. But I'm pretty happy with the way it looks right now, so that's how I'm going to leave it. All right, guys, so that is how I do an engine bay cleaning. Your situation obviously may differ a little bit. You know, if you're going to a coin operated car wash, if you don't have compressed air, things like that. My best suggestion is, if you guys don't have compressed air, wipe down everything you can, you know, with a towel, get everything as clean as you can, and then go take the car for a drive. Because when you get the engine hot, it's gonna evaporate off any of that moisture that's there and, you know, dry everything off for you. So I think that's part of the reason why I've never really had any problem is I thoroughly dry the vehicle with compressed air. And as you saw, even if the coils are completely saturated, if the coils are in good shape or the alternator's in good shape, if the vehicle itself is in good shape, washing it is not going to cause any problem. So the cleanings that I did in this video, as you saw, I did the one we did on my truck. My truck is a 2017 Colorado. I bought it brand new in 2018. It has 40,000 miles on it. And that's about as dirty as it was. That was the first time I ever cleaned it. The other one that I did that I didn't really record so much for the video was my fiance's Escape. She bought a Ford Escape in 2016, bought it brand new. At this point in 2022, it's got 96,000 miles on it. I've never cleaned the engine in it, and it came out fantastic, before and after using this same procedure. So guys, the procedure obviously works. The only thing I will say is if you guys have like some faded trim or anything like that under the hood and you want to restore it, I'm actually going to be shooting a plastic trim restore video, like which one's best. So I'm actually doing some testing to see which products are best, which products are basically crap. So hit the subscribe button if you want to see that. But what I'm really looking at is over an extended period of time, what plastic trim restores actually work over an extended period and not just 2 weeks. So obviously it's taken me some time to put this video together, so the testing is in progress at this point. It'll be out this fall. So guys, I'll put links down in the description to all the tools, to the products that I used in this video. And as always guys, if you guys like the video, hit like. If you want to see more content, go down and hit subscribe. Thanks for watching guys.